like, reads, like, as if, the Doctor's just crossing streams momentarily with, your other unrelated story. He runs through, asks for some weird ingredient, says something strange, and goes running off to back to his bullshit.
Fair. Also, why does Rick and Morty get so many good songs?
I don't know, because I've never heard one.
Rick and Morty just has good fucking music.
I'm going to assume production value.
Like,
Probably, yeah.
Generally, it's just, people who work on cartoons that are genuinely enjoying their work do good work.
the big thing is,
That's it. I just don't care about Rick and Morty to interact.
it's not like music that's like super important or matters in setting. It's the music they just put up, the emotional music they use at the end of an episode of a really dramatic, emotional, impacting episode.
Okay, so I think we are good.
I definitely think this is true of a lot of things. There's a thing where it's like, okay, I might respect the, I might respect in the existence and the attempt to make this joke, but there's, the kind of person who will, like, laughing when you see it once and moving on with your life is different from making that joke your personality.
Oh yeah, no.
And one of those things I respect a lot more than the other
Yep,
is generally true with this, like it depends on the execution, depends on the whole specific thing,
Yeah.
And
Just
the mic is
around
on
it.
now, so just
Yeah. It's just, there's kind of a lot going on with that, so.
Humor is very subjective.
Yeah, just wanted to make sure before you accidentally name someone because we were talking about
I
someone.
kind of figured once we switched the scene off to the game footage there. Yes, basically, it comes down to, it's hard for me to describe the exact specific details, but I think there is obviously I think purely just quoting stuff and not, building off of it is already kind of like,
Probably,
a little bit of a weaker indicator, but,
we should probably move your guys' chairs closer.
All right. Think that works best?
Yeah, just so we're all like decently close together.
Yeah. But yeah, so essentially, when
Trying to
I
conserve warmth.
basically my final conclusion is simple. When I endlessly quote Sword Art Online abridged, that is based and funny. But when my brother constantly quotes South Park, that is cringe and loser behavior.
Don't both of them make the hashtag race war joke?
Yes, they do.
Yeah, except see, one of the difference is one of them is funny.
But see, and this is what is called hypocrisy.
That's why I phrased it that way.
I know. I figured that's why you phrased it that way.
Wait, you were in on the joke?
But yes, it is.
Oh, yeah.
It's partially a joke, partially true though, because it's one of those things like, all right, I think Sword Art Online has like, the jokes are funny, but the jokes are kind of in service to what is ultimately an excellent emotional narrative in a long-term thing, even if it is also a funny parody.
But also at the
Which
same time, if you
guess
constantly
as a person, I respect more than serialized.
But like at the same time, you
More
have,
serialized
you
parody
do have
form?
to remember on one thing, and this is just to point that out. It's the whole, like, if someone didn't like the series and they got annoyed with you constantly quoting it.
Oh yeah, well see, there's the other difference actually. I quote it with you guys when we
Oh,
both do
yeah.
that,
Yeah, exactly.
whereas my brother
Yeah,
will
exactly.
quote the thing about like, he
It's all-
ate his
it's all-
parents in the chili at like dinner 4 times a year.
Yeah, so like,
And those are different things. One
Yeah.
of those is okay and the other is not.
yeah,
Fair enough.
yeah, fair
And
enough.
I know this one's okay because I know the one is okay because that's the one I do is the joke. But
Yeah,
realistically,
no,
there's a time and a place for quoting,
Come on, guys, it's
quoting like raunchy parody,
It's
and
fine.
like
We're fine.
So,
That's not it.
Last time on Assassin's Creed, I think we were quoting a song lyric with what Altair was doing. Mama, just killed a man.
we might have done that.
Probably.
I don't know. I do know what we did do, and that was dialogue.
Okay, so where are we in the story right now?
Well, I guess actually a better way to say
We're,
it is
we're kind of in the last like couple of assassin missions.
we have seen the apple. Didn't we deliver it to Almaline?
No, he had it already.
Did he have it already, or did we get it back at like the starter mission and you
Yes.
didn't know what it was until now?
Yeah, that
Yes.
sounds right.
I'm very proud of myself for remembering his name now too. Almaline. But yeah, so my point simply being, we died a lot, but not as much as in the previous episodes because physics has been working more in our favor.
Someone must have updated the animus.
No, the animus won't get updated until the second game.
Then why are then what?
Well, not a proper update, but we might have got a hot fix.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair.
They give us an actual full numbered patch when we move to the next one, though.
Yeah, we are now on 1.0000000000101.
I think it's more likely that we're on 1.03.01a as opposed to the 1.0301 that we started on. Because 1.0 was actually had an unplayable error that caused you to die the moment you hit the end of your first memory, and they didn't realize until after launch they had to do a couple of day one patches, which fortunately launched before Desmond got into the thing.
Okay, I don't think that happened on this version of the animus, but bring that theory up again when we get to Black Flag, 'cause I'll believe it then.
Okay, so they do want me to.
You know,
Yeah, they do want me to jump onto it.
you brought up Sword Art Online earlier, and I'm suddenly just imagining Sword Art Online taking place in the Assassin's Creed universe, and
being produced.
nothing changes, I don't think, from the Abridged series.
Okay, the one thing that is true though is that it is produced by Abstergo Games instead of by whatever the hell company it is in Sword Art
True.
Online.
Yeah, I don't remember the company's name.
Because clearly they already have the full dive, so they just hire a Japanese division to like design a cool game to help market it.
Yep.
And then everything happens exactly the
Alright,
same.
you have to
Yeah.
die so I can synchronize.
Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. What Quaz said, not your murder.
Well, I mean, that also.
Your murder makes no sense. You violent maniac. How is this upholding the teachings of the Assassin's Order to randomly go out and kill a man?
I don't know.
So was no one paying attention to the story then? Because I feel like they've justified it by now.
Well, yeah, they have because they all the guards work for essentially the Templars.
Ah, they work for the other guys, so they're the enemy, so they're evil.
Yes,
Gotcha.
exactly.
Gotta love that us versus them mentality.
Yep, exactly. And the other excuse is, just give you something to do. Because it is a video game after all. Also, I don't blame a lot of these guards. If you're climbing on roofs and you're supposed to be climbing on roofs, I don't blame them for being mad, but it is kind of excessive to attack someone for it.
Yeah.
So in reality, it's just self-defense.
Once you get past, like, what is it, 35 counts of self-defense?
Yeah.
I think the universe just agrees that you kind of shouldn't keep surviving.
Nah.
Or at least the Half-Life universe thinks that.
Oh. And like with those guys that I was killing before, like I literally just walked up to them and then they started attacking me for whatever reason. I don't know what happened there.
Fair.
I was not
Okay.
like in any. I wasn't doing anything like major or.
They don't
was-
like monks.
I gotta interject because I don't remember if we double checked this. We did set our descriptions back to Assassin's Creed.
Yes, we did.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I did.
I'm like, wait a minute.
I did that last week.
Okay. I thought you probably did. You're on top of that. But I'm just like, hold on a second.
Good job for asking.
What's that fool running from?
Why would anyone want to do that?
Whoop.
Safety and peace, brother. I've been looking everywhere for you.
Safety
I
and
stole
peace.
this letter earlier today. Read it over. Hopefully it'll be of use.
Thank you. Oh, in the middle of nowhere.
I mean, we're always in the middle of nowhere.
I mean, that
if,
is-
if you really think about it.
That is very
I
true.
mean, you've seen that like void of space we're in when we're loading.
Have you tried gentle pushing your way out of the White Void?
Yeah, I've tried. Hasn't really worked out too well.
Clearly you didn't gentle push hard enough.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, if you push gentle push too hard, it's no longer gentle.
Gentle,
This is
but
the paradox of pushing.
it's gentle tackle then.
Yeah, which is still not gentle push.
Is that the technique Ramza specializes in?
Sure.
Gentle paradox does sound like. Well, okay, gentle paradox actually sounds more like an exalted thing.
It'd need at least
Maybe.
one more. It'd be a socialized charm. Gentle paradox disposition.
Yeah, well, I'm saying like as a combination of two words, it sounds like the lead into something.
Yeah, no. Gentle paradox disposition would be a charm that lets you choose an intimacy and present it different ways to two different people. The normal version and an inverted opposite belief system version. So whenever someone tries to read you, you can convince them that your love of, I don't know, bacon is actually a hatred for bacon.
Yes. But you can also remember the eternal truth. Your love is not enough. I need some cool shit too. Because Tom Cardy don't miss. Unrelated to that, earlier,
Twitch on your phone. Very quick.
Pass to someone else. Take yourself
What's
from
the-
here before I call the car.
Switch it to Rich 3 because
not on the internet right now. Never force on the Wi-Fi.
Yeah. Because I just wanted to check something.
Yeah.
What kind of thing are you checking?
Oh, I just wanted to see
How we're like showing up or something?
yeah, how we're showing up. Yeah. Thank you.
Well, I will just talk over you doing that then.
I beg of you, sir. I beg of you. Just a few coins, please. Please, sir, have any money? No, please, don't leave my
Okay, yeah, we're good.
Okay, we're done.
That's good.
Oh, because the guards. Gosh darn it.
But it's what I was going to say there a little bit before stream, because as I had talked about a little bit, I believe, last stream separately, is that I've been thinking about Bloodborne a lot.
Right.
And I turned thinking about Bloodborne into playing Bloodborne. I've mostly cleared another new run since last week. At the very least, I have made significant progress.
What's the run?
Well, it started out themed, and then I kind of changed the theme halfway through to something completely unrelated, because I found out about a cool thing I could do, which I got time to go into that before I get to my original point.
That's pretty much the quintessential Soulsborne
I
experience.
was originally going to do a powder keg weapons. Start with the stake driver, pick up the boom hammer. You know, the big explosive wacky ones. And I did use the stake driver, like, I just used an axe until I got the stake driver, then use the stake driver exclusively for a decent chunk of the game there. And in fact, got some excellent kills in using the fully charged stake driver R2. And made good use of it.
What was your most violent kill with the stake driver R2?
I got beaten up by one of the bagmen and dragged down to Yargle.
As you do. Got a
Where
bar.
they came to Bargle, yes. And what happened was, so the room that later in the game has what is colloquially known as the gank squad, but at this point in the game is just two of the bag dudes in one room, and those guys are already dangerous enough at this point in the game. So I had a lot of trouble kind of getting through there because I kept trying to recollect my souls before I left, and kept getting them, and then trying to grab an item and then die, you know,
As you do.
standard stuff.
We've all
or would,
been there.
Or would narrowly grab it before I get clipped and die again, you know. But I started getting the hang of hitting them, of setting up and doing the fully charged R2 right as they do their charge out their power up. For a second, just laying them flat and wailing on them,
Nice.
which worked pretty well. But so I had that. I got the boom hammer getting through the early chunk of DLC, and was using that a little bit. But while I was doing research for what I eventually want to do, which is a low level run, Blood level 4, where you play as the Waste of Skin class, is the standard. All of the other classes start at level 10. And technically have slightly better stats, but the difference is pretty marginal.
Okay.
I'm considering doing one of the other level 10 classes instead of Waste of Skin. The stat difference for your actual combat power is negligible, but you have slightly different weapon options. That's the main reason.
That could lead to some interesting
Because
variety.
the standard level 4 run, you can only use the 3 starting weapons and the saw spear.
That's not
Every single other weapon in the game requires higher stats than
100 ships. For what
So the default one most people use is maybe the saw spear, but usually the saw cleaver, and then the axe and the threaded cane are both relegated out of usefulness. So it's pretty much saw cleaver is the single weapon everyone uses for blood level 4. Sometimes saw spear for certain situations. That's it.
So it's more of a gimmick run than anything else.
A little bit, but I mean, you still have to link master the skills and
I
everything.
mean, yeah, but compared to other Soul level 1 runs,
Yeah, you don't have, because it's more similar to Dark Souls 1 in that sense, but there's no stat boosting gear in that game either.
I cannot risk you
There are
telling
only, I think there were only 4 weapons in Dark Souls 1 out of the larger weapon pool that you could actually wield as the level 1 Pyromancer.
that push wasn't gentle at all.
Because I think you had the hand axe, the club, and the reinforced club, and the battle axe if you two-hand it, something like that. It was that was it. So your weapon options were still pretty restricted, but it didn't feel quite as bad because you had pyromancies, even if you only had 1 attunement slot.
Right, Pyromancy didn't care about stats.
Yeah, because pyromancy was stat independent, and the only level 1 class in Dark Souls 1 was the pyromancer. So that was your flexibility in your approach.
Totally forgot about that.
Later, for some fights, you'd want to have your maxed out weapon use your inner power within, what it's called, to buff yourself. Sometimes you'd want great combustion or black flame once you got far enough to burst down bosses. So you had a little bit of flexibility because you had access to spellcasting.
Yeah.
And then while you didn't have as much spellcasting access, but you could finagle it somewhat. In Dark Souls 2 and 3, you could do a lot more with equipment by getting stat boosting items. Same in Elden. So there's a lot more planning available into your approach. You can customize what you use. I've been doing Elden Ring level 1, and you can actually wield quite a lot of weapons if you're willing to dedicate enough equipment slots to the right stats. I beat several enemies with dual-wielded Great Hammer class weapons.
Nice.
Because if you dedicate every single possible strength buff and like one dex buff, and
Does that
go
include
with
the flask
yes, well,
or physique? Whatever. Whichever one. You know what I'm talking about.
it does not strictly require the flask actually. Just to get to those.
No 3-minute timer. Yay.
But I have done that. I have used a fully sized greatsword that requires me to use the flask and all the strength buffs
I've
and
also
two-hand
done
it
that, actually.
to get through fights, because for some fights that's what works. So you have, between all of the different stat combinations, you can do a lot of stuff. I'll use the dual weapons. I've got like a parry thing. I got a whole kit of level gear for fighting different types of fights. Poison gear, frost gear, raw stat gear, etc.
Oh, what makes you say that?
And so that's kind of, Bloodborne is a little lacking on that front, partly because the game is built a little bit more on the game is built a little bit more on, for flavor reasons, the hunter thing. You pick your hunter weapon and master it, which makes sense in a ludonarrative sense, Dark
Didn't
Souls
know you could fight like
weapons
that.
are a little more interchangeable,
More likely teleport.
and it's kind of funny because despite being
Very rude.
Okay, no, he doesn't teleport. He just breaks physics. Good to know.
despite being more monster, like a monster hunter-y thing in Bloodborne, it is less about preparation, I feel. There's still an element of that. And obviously it still benefits you and can, behoove you to, okay, pick the gear that defends against this stat, use the weapon damage type that this creature is weak to. That's still there. But the level of preparation and changing your strategy that you utilize in a low-level Bloodborne run, or even a standard one, is a lot lower, I feel like, than a low-level run, at least, in, like, Elden Ring or Dark Souls 2 or 3.
Yeah, honestly, when it comes to a lot of challenge runs, I feel like Elden Ring is just because it's Elden Ring is its own separate massive beast. And I
That
get
is
kind
true.
of similar vibes with Bloodborne, despite only remembering patches that keep showing up in my nightmares.
Yeah, there are definitely different challenges to it, because, like I said, you have a lot of options. That's what it comes down to in Elden Ring at low level. It's like, okay, what tools can I use that can make this manageable? Some fights, you can use a big greatsword with Giant Hunter to stun lock light enough enemies, if you're willing to dedicate enough stats to use it. Other fights, going maximally evasive and defensive and just slowly whittling away with some chipping frost damage. Sometimes that's what you got to do. There's a lot of approaches.
Well, on the other hand, Dark Souls 2, because that's the only one I've made any real progress with on a Soul Level 1 type run. And in Dark Souls 2, due to adaptability in the iframes, it becomes way more about just perfectly understanding when the iframes work more than anything else, in my opinion.
Yeah, it is especially true level 1 because unless you dedicate, there's only a very narrow number of ways to boost adaptability without leveling it. So you are restricted to the lower level of iframes, which it's rough. It's very rough level 1. Your level 1 runs by default are more brutal, especially because you can get spell slots and use pyromancies and stuff. They're not quite as good statless.
Yeah.
Like they don't scale as much with stats, but they do scale a little bit.
So that way you have room.
And in particular, the way attunement works in Dark Souls 2 penalizes spellcasting on a level 1 run more compared to other games because you have less casts than you're supposed to per spell in those situations. Dark Souls 1, if you have great
Okay.
combustion, you have 16 great combustions no matter what.
The Templars might not be a threat, but Newton,
Yeah, whereas in Dark Souls 2,
Yeah.
you
he's
have,
after you.
yeah, in Dark Souls 2,
gravity.
you'd have anywhere from 12 to 20, depending on your stat. And if you're level 1, it's going to be the 12. You know? So that makes a difference. But again, you can change your equipment to suit your personal playstyle more, because you do have the stat boosting things. I went out of my way to get a bunch of stat boosting gear so that I could use a Zweihander properly at level 1,
Nice.
because that's kind of what I'm used to in playing. I usually play with heavy weapons. There are some fights that are just made so much easier by having a weapon heavy enough to micro stagger on every swing. Some fights that are a nightmare to try and deal with if they can tank through your hits are great if you can just poise break.
While I, on the other hand, default to playing a spellcaster up until about a third or 2/3 of the way through the game, where I finally give up, restart the entire game, play some super normal gimmicky build, and then end up mimicking Quaz and going with his Zweihander again.
Well, here, spellcasting wise, that's the other thing that really, really makes 2 interesting compared to the others, is the spices.
Oh,
I mean,
true.
you actually, while you get less damage, utility spells especially, but even
so
damage
much more
spells if they're, powerful enough at low stats, or with the right scaling gear, you can take good advantage of that kind of thing. So there are
It's getting worse.
ways that you can reduce the requirement from
Paranoia
spellcasting
knows
at the
no
levels.
bounds.
Considering I completely forgot the spices existed in 2,
Wasn't so bad
they
till
are
he
definitely
decided to
one of my
make Court
favorite
his
aspects
home.
of 2.
Yeah.
Being able to...
I didn't use them on a level 1 run really, but on a co-op playthrough I did, I picked up I think repair sorcery, for example. I took repair sorcery and like a couple of other utility ones. I think also great heal, though it turned out that heal is really bad at low pay, and brought the requirements way down. So no matter how low my stats were, I could always repair my weaponry because I was respecking constantly as part of the co-op run.
Fair.
So that no matter if I had the stats or not, I'd be able to repair my weapons for long co-op runs because we didn't want to stop at the bonfire to resummon
Yeah, exactly.
if we could ever avoid it.
Makes
Stuff
sense.
like that. So anyway, 3 I've had more trouble with for some more personal reasons about that, but again, all of these have their ways of offering these options. And this is where Bloodborne differs. Because Bloodborne, you have the 4 weapons, and 2 of them are almost useless at level 1 runs. Like, you obviously can make them work if they benefit your style that much, but the axe, for example, it offers slightly higher damage, but the stamina cost is really high on the axe. And when you have the stamina of a level 1 character, well, level 4, but
That
minimal
sounds
difference.
terrible.
It'll be
It's
fine.
rough. The stamina cost on the Saw Spear and Saw Cleaver is very low, but their base damage is... They have slightly higher base damage and slightly worse scaling in the base game, which makes them very good default weapons for level 1. So those
Okay,
are
I'm
those are
leaving.
defaults for a reason, especially because Bloodborne has some hidden damage bonuses, and those 2 are serrated, giving them a 20% damage bonus versus Beasts, which is a large chunk of it. So actually, the Saw Cleaver does more damage than the axe, even at the lower stamina cost and faster attack speed against about half the cast. So, same difference, So
Maybe I should actually replay Bloodborne at some point, just so I can actually, remember it.
Fair. I'll get to that because I was thinking about how we could maybe do some stream related stuff with it, which was one of the things I was getting to.
More content, boys!
Yeah. But basically, so Bloodborne, it's very, very focused around kind of the raw skill, which obviously the raw skill is important in any level 1.
Of course.
But it's a little more integral because there's just not as much room to plan around things.
Don't
For
me.
example, you can mitigate things a little bit by wearing, the right armor with the right stats for that thing, but you can't do as much with it because the Bloodborne stat differences are a lot smaller.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Dark Souls 1, even with the limited things there were fights where what I would do, even at level 1, is I'm just going to go to the maximum equip load, put on that heavy armor, wield the great shield, because that's what I need to get through this fight. Four Kings, for example, absolutely destroyed me constantly until I just put on the heaviest armor I could wear, wielded a great shield, and just tanked their hits, waiting for a moment to just combustion. That was it. That was what got me through the fight in a single go.
Okay.
And you can't do that in Bloodborne.
Weird challenge you've done in a Soulsborne. Because I know mine is my blind Rotten run. Blindfolded Rotten is the hardest challenge I've ever done, despite being probably the easiest boss in the entire series to do blindfolded.
I'd say hardest regular run is obviously the level 1 runs. Level 1 run of Dark Souls 2 was probably my worst, despite the fact that I did not finish the Dark Souls 3 one. Part of that's just because I didn't like 3 as much as 2 in some ways.
Yeah.
Or at least I wasn't as practiced at it.
For me, 3 always reminded me... 3 was... Until Elden Ring, I didn't really like playing the games in a more action-y way. I preferred the almost turn-based vibes that Demon Souls, Dark Souls 1, and to a degree Dark Souls 2 all had. Where it was just slow enough, it felt like you were trading actions with your opponent.
Honestly, this is one of the things I've kind of realized with playing Bloodborne, is it doesn't feel quite as fast as it used to. I think Dark Souls 3 was not as much of a decrease from Bloodborne speed as I thought it was.
Oh yeah, no.
I thought it was partway between Bloodborne and Dark Souls. I think Dark Souls 3 was actually much more equivalent to Bloodborne in speed than I really thought.
Genuinely thought it was actually a little faster. at least
It might
late
be in
game.
its own way. But, yeah. If I had to point out, though, a run that was a little more unique and not just the low-level run, easily my most unique was in Dark Souls 2. Because there was a point where I played Dark Souls 2 through with a friend. Unfortunately not you, because I don't think you were available at the time. But we played through the entire base game co-op. We were just having fun, messing around. We co-op every zone you could, did every zone twice back to back, standard co-op stuff. And we just, we kept changing builds constantly. We actually used like more than half the soul vessels in the game. Because we kept respecting every couple of zones, picking up new weapons, upgrading them completely.
That's how I did my first playthrough.
To mix and match our co-op.
I totally understand.
Especially because if we picked something that was bad, there were 2 of us. We could
Bad
cover
builds
different-
are a lot more viable with the partner.
So I would there was a chunk of early game I was mostly using like a big heavy club. I used the Dragon Tooth when I got that, for a long time. Stuff like that, Great Shield Dragon Tooth, eventually like I did like a dual wield washing poles, on and off a couple of times, I went full Hexer for a while. I think we were just all over the place.
Okay.
But when we beat the game, we went back in. We did New Game Plus full co-op, and in this one, we did not respec. We picked one jank build for each of us.
Were you like an archer? Was
Yes.
that your thing?
Yes. So my friend was doing pure fist weapons, and I was doing pure range. And the 2 of us co-opted the entirety of New Game Plus this week. So he had, I think, sexes and I think bone fists, depending on what he was doing. And I had a loadout that included, I believe, I had the Dragon Slayer Great Bow in my right hand, and a regular, like, black bow or like one of the more agile bows in my left hand. And then in the back slots was dual crossbows. I think dual Avalons once I got a second.
That's dope.
And those were all 4 equipped at once so that I could rapid fire switch whichever was most useful at a time. Obviously, most fights I would plink with regular bows from long range while he meleeed them. But sometimes, I'm like, okay, I'm standing up here, I'm just gonna, great bow them. Sometimes I'm dodge rolling with dual crossbows. It was all over the place. The only melee attack I had available to me was the shield break, that you can do with, even with a bow equipped, you can shield break. I think there was like one like weak bash that the great bow might have had.
I think it's just the shield break. So
There might, I feel like there was like one other like melee thing that I did. I don't remember what it was though.
Finally.
But basically, for the most part, the entire run I had
She despawned,
nothing but those.
so I had to do this whole thing again.
Unfortunately,
I think she ran away.
The other gimmick I did is I took advantage of the respecting the spices from before, so I did often keep a casting tool for both types in my third hand slots.
Makes
And a
sense.
couple of utility spells. Like I had a great heal I'd use to help keep us topped off, even though the healing was low because I was a full archer and had no faith.
Didn't you have a light as well, so you could avoid torches or something?
I might have had a light. I think I probably did have repair. Though I don't.
You had repair. You told me about.
Well, yes, I don't think.
Back then, you told me about.
Yeah, I don't think I actually used repair as much in the once we got to the archery part in New Game Plus though, because bows don't really degrade very quickly compared to melee weapons. I don't think.
Yeah, I think crossbows degrade better.
Repair might technically be an AOE if you have a partner. Repair might technically have been a point blank AOE, and I might have used it to repair his stuff. I don't remember exactly. But
The most successful guard in the entire city.
I also used Chameleon. Even when it wasn't like for practical use, I would sometimes just use it and turn it into a thing while following around when we were walking around areas just for laughs.
That's pretty funny.
So I didn't feel like I was really violating the spirit of the build by having my, 10 int ass able to just cast a couple of random utility
So,
spells.
have you done the New Game Plus 7 run? Where
No,
you go?
Nope,
I've
sorry.
never gone past. I think I've gone to New Game Plus 2 in like one game, and I've never done past plus 1 in anything.
Coward.
Just because I don't. I'd rather start a new character at plus 0 than keep playing the character at plus 2 or further.
So, I did Dark Souls 2 New Game Plus 7 a while back, and once you get to New Game Plus 7, you've just kind of done everything you wanted to do with the build. So you're just doing stupid stuff, the same way you do if you're just, playing new builds constantly. So I ended up going Smelter Demon outfit, Smelter Demon Ultra Great Sword, Ancient Smelter Demon Ultra Great Sword, and Power Stancing through the entirety of New Game Plus 7. So I had the Balrog Butthole Mask, I had the Crop Top Breastplate, whole 9 yards.
It's good.
I found out that the mask clips through the throne if you sit on it at the end of the game.
Of course
no.
it does.
It's not designed for you to sit on the throne with a giant butthole face. The game did not assume you'd do that.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, it was that or wear one of the crowns, and I'm not going to wear one of the crowns when I become the monarch.
That's
Yeah,
true.
why would you do something
that
so
sounds
silly?
very
Yeah.
pretentious.
Yeah, I don't recommend playing New Game Plus 7 Dark Souls 2.
Yeah. There's a reason I tend to stop. Honestly, I very rarely play into New Game Plus 1 very far. I'll do it on like my first character I beat the game on, and usually not much after.
I did it because I was collecting medals because I was playing on my PS3? 4? PS4.
I think it was out on both.
Yeah, I was
I think
playing
it
on
was
the
out.
PS4, yeah. And I was a cheapskate who wasn't willing to play for online, so I didn't have access to the online version of Dark Souls 2. So the only way I could get stuff like multiplayer Covenant rewards,
Was farming them.
so much farming, and I needed to get into plus 7 before I was able to get enough to max out all of the Covenants. It was terrible.
I don't think I've ever matched I've never gotten more than like a 1 or 2 ranks in any of the multiplayer Covenants Dark Souls 2. I just couldn't be asked.
I was gonna 100% one of the Soulsborne games, and my copy of Demon Souls had been scratched like 2 years prior.
Well, for me, I guess that was Bloodborne. I do technically have 100% achievements at least, if not 100% like, every single task.
That's fair.
But
I
Wow.
will say, I ended up grinding so much in my first
actually,
playthrough.
I think I've never done Dark Lurker. I don't think I've ever done the Abyss and Dark Lurker stuff in Dark Souls 2.
I've done it once, and that was on New Game Plus 7. Don't make your first Dark Lurker attempt New Game Plus 7.
I had people where I planned on doing it, but I think I just never actually got around to doing it.
Yeah,
I straight up don't know what Dark Lurker looks like.
he looks like a Diablo character. Anyway,
Never played much Diablo either, so that doesn't tell me much.
he looks like a
Then again,
That was me.
modded Oblivion character.
I did play Heroes of the Storm, so I guess I've seen a few Diablo
That
characters.
was me, dumb.
I'll say, Tyrael's design slaps.
But yeah, thing about New Game Plus
Tyrael?
7,
Yeah, I think it's Tyrael.
it is Muriel, yeah.
Yeah,
Whatever it is, he looks really awesome.
he does.
Thing about New Game Plus 7
I once saw
is
cosplay with fully LED glowing tentacle things.
That's
if
Hell
you're,
yeah.
if you're like me and you grinded a shit ton in New Game Plus, you already. Hey, Civil Rogue. Yeah, if you're like me and you did a bunch of grinding, you probably end up hitting the level cap in Dark Souls 2.
Okay, my character would not move,
Wow.
or at least like shit.
We're having a lot of trouble here.
We are.
Yeah, I knew.
Water
I
really
feel
is
like
all
I feel like I remember these boat areas. Really
Yeah,
kinda
no,
sucky.
I knew as soon as I got here, it's like this is gonna be one of
boat
the toughest
collisions
parts.
kind of weird.
Do
Yeah.
any of the Assassin's Creed have good, like, water area levels? Because I feel like even Black Flag has
This
the
was
most
one of my
famous
complaints with playing Liberation is that you kept getting like you had to ride these little boats around the bayou, but you had really weird clipping with the boats.
Yeah.
You keep getting stuck trying to get in and out of the boats.
Oh, right. They made the skeleton on those super thin. I think I watched a YouTube video essay on it like 4 years ago.
And yeah, like and sections like this too. Like I once kept like trying and failing to like climb out of the damn boat when I had to like do it for a mission. It was bad.
Yeah, when it comes
That
to
one,
when it comes to a lot of water stuff, like this is definitely one of the worst ones, just because of the whole combination of the whole weird physics when it comes to the boats, and also just Altair dying.
Yeah, it
The
doesn't
dying
help that
slows you
the
down, that's for sure.
parkour physics haven't really been refined yet in this one.
But yeah, I think I might have played through most of New Game Plus 2 and Bloodborne with my favorite character I played that with. And I think I played a decent way, like maybe 2/3 of the way through a plus 2 in Dark Souls 2. And I think that's all I've ever done in terms of progression. I also didn't ever use bonfire aesthetics much into it. I've like only done it like once or twice ever. I just, not my thing.
Yeah, I don't use them very often, but so my farming method is the same one a lot of people use. I just farm the rotten up to New Game Plus 99 or so.
Honestly, I just can't be bothered.
I mean, it's like once you hit New Game Plus 7, it's only like a 5 or 7 minute boss fight each time. And by that point, it's not like you're dying on it, so it's a pretty easy loop.
I just prefer to move on and fight new things instead of fighting the same boss over and over.
The thing is,
like doing it.
I didn't want to do the run to the Old Iron King during the first playthrough on what eventually became my New Game Plus 7 character. I didn't want to repeat the run to the Old Iron King anymore. I was getting sick of it, so I just decided to skip it by farming the 1,000,000 souls. But I forgot how many souls I needed, so I thought I needed 15 million, not 1 million. So I farmed 15 million souls while skipping one of the 4 early game bosses.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's the reason I hit the level cap in like New Game Plus 6. So I was walking around with like 4 or 5 million souls at a time at the end of it.
Yeah, I did not do that.
Yeah, it's not worth it. Like, you own 99 of anything that can be purchased. You own at least 7 copies of everything else. You've got 2 sets of the Armor of Avernus, or whatever it's called.
Yeah, so what I'm gonna leap from this back over to the Bloodborne thing a little bit, so that I can hopefully move that along. We can, pick some different random discussion topics while we play Assassin's Creed. But
Well, I mean, not like we can talk about Assassin's Creed.
yeah,
Yeah, why would we do
you know.
something like that?
we'll do it every now and then, but not for very long. I'm sure. But yeah, basically to bring it back around to the circle, I've been looking at the Bloodborne thing, and it mostly just comes down to like it's about the raw execution. It's like, I mean, honestly, it is like playing the game normally on a high enough difficulty, because enemies will one-shot you. Like if you're, it's the same thing as playing like New Game Plus 3 or so.
Yeah, no.
You know,
100%.
bosses start one-shotting you at a certain point. You know, your defenses don't do much, and fights take forever.
But in New Game Plus 3, I get to look cool while I do it. So the trade-off.
The nice thing about Bloodborne is you always get to look cool while doing it.
I mean,
because there is no weight limit.
Oh yeah.
There was like at one point in beta. This is one thing I like about it, because you can use the big heavy weapons like the Kirkhammer or something, and you have the exact same movement speed. There is no ability to overburden yourself by using heavy weapons.
That's actually really nice.
And this also always means you can have both weapon slots and both gun slots, and this doesn't slow you down. There's no like. I love having multiple weapons in hands, but the weight system really disincentivizes that in a lot of the games. It just really overloads you, unless one's like really light.
Yeah,
But that's not a problem. Fair. So, in terms of your ability to equip yourself that way, you're fine. Well, the problem is, again, like 3 weapons. And that's where my problem lies, because pulling out the excellent execution relies really mastering those, and usually people will use things like beast blood pellets and like weapon buffs and, you know, special consumables and tactics and stuff to like
Hunters
amp up their damage and clear fights. Like early on, the Bloodstarved Beast is kind of rough because it has wide aggressive swings and it can poison you. It has AoE poison that doesn't even require hitting you with like an aura when its health gets low enough. So you want to really pump your damage, you don't have to worry about that. So they'll like, you know, put fire on their weapon, chug beast blood pellets, which builds up your damage through continuous attacking until the meter resets.
And back to Zox we go.
But
For
like,
that, I have to go get this flag and save a citizen.
fair. Yeah, so like those tactics and stuff, it doesn't matter what your weapon is, those are all still tactics you can help use in a low level run. So as far as I'm looking at it, the difference between playing a level 4 and a level 10, you're going to be playing the game pretty much the exact same. You're going to be using the same tactics, the same dodges, the same parries against everything, you know? But there's no ability to use spells. None of the starting classes, except like one, has the arcane to use any of the special items.
The trade-offs on Blood Level 10 is that you don't get bragging rights anymore.
Yeah, so that is the one potential downside. But for me, I think I would actually enjoy the run slightly more by playing one of the level 10 starter classes that gives me like 3 extra points of dex in exchange for 1 less point of hit points. Like, the one I'm looking at actually has like 2 extra points of the stamina stat, but its actual health stat's like 1 lower too. I would actually start being one-shot earlier than a normal Blood Level 4 run.
That's always fun.
But the main difference is just, you know, have a few more weapon options, because my favorite weapons, all of my favorite weapons, are slightly out of reach for the default level 4. Which was why I was doing some research into this. And trying to figure out, okay, what weapons could I have access to? What other starting characters would give me access to what weapons? For example, the Beast Hunter Safe, one of my personal favorites, requires 1 more point of dex than you would have as the level 4 start, I believe.
Okay.
So I could do it if I leveled up once to equip it, but that defeats the purpose. I would rather start as a level 10 starting character than level up once from the level 4 character. That actually feels worse.
No,
You're still minimum level run, just for a different start, you know?
No, 100%.
I actually did this in Dark Souls 1 at a point, actually. I picked a level 4 start where I started as a knight or a warrior or something instead of pyromancer. I figured that would actually be harder. You have a few more weapon options, but no pyromancy. You know, I thought that would actually be harder than the level 1 pyromancer.
Can you get pyromancy later on?
Yeah, but you have no attunement slots if you're playing a class that doesn't have spellcasting.
Right.
So you can get the flame, but you can't do jack shit with it unless you pick a spellcasting class to start.
Pretty sure you can still punch people with it.
Yeah, but my point being, I thought after I beat level 1, I'm like, oh, if I do it as a level 4 knight, that might actually be harder since I can't use spells. You know, even if I can pick like a sword instead of an axe, you know?
No, fair, that's fair.
Though I didn't get very far in that run. And it's kind of the same thing here. It's like, okay, you know, if I picked a level 10 start and I'm like doing the weapon with the Beast Hunter Safe, which is my favorite, even if everyone says, actually it's worse in the level 1 run because it's not serrated and it costs more stamina to use, even if the damage is slightly better. But it's the one I'm used to, you know? And I feel like if I'm going into something that is essentially a pure test of skill, you're just trying to no-hit Bloodborne with bad damage, you know, at a certain point into the game.
Yeah, no, that's a fair description.
So picking a starting character that allows me to use a weapon where I am more familiar and with the moveset and more able to use its playstyle feels to me like that might be the way to go for me personally.
That's fair.
Which is why I'm thinking of using the professional start to have a few extra points of dex. So early on, I can pick up the Beast Hunter Safe once I'll probably use the Cleaver anyway for the first part of the game, but pick up the Beast Hunter Safe once I get to, get DLC access. And once I bum rush further through the DLC, get the Church Pick, which is one of my favorites.
How often do you do cosplay runs? Will you dress up and equip
So, sorry, someone
I saw.
fell off of the dock.
And most certainly not
Oh
against
shit,
you.
Altair's here. Splash.
And yet no one here will vouch for you.
I usually pick an outfit theme for every character I play.
Okay.
They're not really cosplay because your options are a little more limited in Bloodborne.
Yeah.
But usually I will pick a specific armor combination for each character that will kind of match what I consider their theme. Like my first character theme, I picked an outfit that I liked. Second one, though, I kind of came up with a distinctive style for them. And unless I really needed to eke out that extra couple points for a rough boss fight, like the first Watchdog of the Old Lord's a bonus boss that has huge fire damage. Usually always gives me a lot of trouble, so I will put on full fire resist for that no matter what and switch back after.
That's fair.
So usually each character, once I unlock enough items, I will pick like a main armor look that I haven't usually used before, a piece of equipment I don't wear very often, and just
So you
make an
don't do
outfit out of it.
cosplay runs, gotcha.
No, just themed outfits.
Yeah, I'm honestly really fond of cosplay runs because I think they force you to use weapons you're not used to, whatever weapon the character's wielding,
Like I said,
and mean
cosplay
you're
runs are a little more limited.
Yeah, but if you're doing cosplay runs realistically in any Souls game, you're probably doing it New Game Plus 1.
I just mean because there's.
That way you're starting out with all the gear at the start of the run.
I just mean because you don't have as many distinct styles. In like a Dark Souls game, you've got your robes, you've got your armor, your leathers, you know, your plates of various styles.
I mean, yeah, but there's enough characters you can cosplay, and most characters, I believe, you can still get their outfits in Bloodborne.
Oh, you mean playing like as a specific NPC?
Yes, you cosplay as a specific NPC.
Okay, I
you
thought you meant
equip their
more like a
weapon.
Theme like
Yeah, that's
general
because you
cosplay
interrupted
thing.
me when I was trying to describe the run.
Okay, cosplay to me is like a little different genre. I was imagining more like, you know, doing an Eno build.
Do you do a My Dress Up Darling run in Soul game?
No.
That's
Generally-
honestly like a very
never done
fun,
that.
a very fun manga. Like I haven't read it in a while, but it's genuinely a very fun manga.
Like,
Now get back
also,
to
yes,
work.
it is. I think I read like the first 5 chapters or something
I've
and
read-
set it down, but
Yeah.
I enjoyed it all.
Yeah, no, I read at least like I don't know what chapter it's on right now, but I read at least like 50 chapters of it that were out at the time. But man,
Good times. But no, yeah, the fun thing about a cosplay run is it forces you to use items you aren't used to. It forces you to level up stats you might not normally focus on. Because if you really want to take it all the way, you also figure out what their actual in-game stats are and set yours to equal to them, and see if they actually could get through it. Also, Lucatiel should have gotten good, because I have beaten the game as Lucatiel. It's possible. Lucatiel's just bad at it.
okay.
I'll take your word for it. In the sense of trying out weapons you haven't tried, that I have done with Bloodborne. I have used almost every weapon in the game on a build. Because I've done builds for every single like primary stat or stat combo basically, and like picked like a weapon for that. Even weapons that I otherwise don't like that much, you know, I have picked it and like had it as one of my main 2 weapon slots.
Okay,
So I have at least tried all of the styles, all of the weapon types.
there's roughly 3 ways to play through Elden Ring on your first playthrough. Did you focus exclusively on faith and wield a faith weapon? Did you focus on intelligence and wield an int weapon? Or did you focus on raw murder and wield a strength and or dex weapon?
Obviously, I did a hybrid because I always do that. I
Yeah.
play every single Souls game. I play strength faith the first time through. I do strength base, heavy weapon, heavy armor, or the closest equivalent I can.
What did you do in Bloodborne?
Well, it's very simple. I played a strength arcane build, more strength, a little bit of arcane, a little bit of dex as I started hitting the level cap. But yeah, like high strength, high vitality, some arcane, used a lot of hunter tools, particularly the healing one in combination with bigger, heavier weapons. I used Ludwig's Holy Sword, first right through the game. I used Kirkhammer early game, but I didn't ever like that one as much. And I think the Saw Spear is my lighter weapon alternative in my offhand.
Yes.
But it was mostly using the greatsword.
Yeah.
So yeah, I strength greatsword and I'd arcane buff it. That was basically how I beat the first chunk of the game, and then I started using the burial blade when I got to the end of the game. I fell in love with that in New Game Plus.
Yeah, based on what few bits and pieces I still remember, I know I dressed up in the doll's outfit once I got it. And I think in the early game I used the, what is it, the cane sword whip thing?
Yeah, the threaded cane is
Threaded cane
the
thing.
threaded cane's my favorite starting weapon. Can't bar it.
It's just so cool.
Yeah, its raw damage is weak, but I like its moveset and I like its early crowd control. It's my favorite starting weapon.
Also, it's a fucking sword whip. Like,
Yeah.
there's nothing
It's
cooler.
very stylish.
I have been a fan of those since Soul Calibur 3.
I can actually bring this in. So this relates to this whole thing though relates to why I was considering it. Because one of the things I was considering, and that led me to changing my current run, was the burial blade. Because the burial blade is one of my favorite weapons in the game. It's very cool, very stylish. It's got a lot of good things going for it. But normally, the only way you get the burial blade is by beating the game. It is a weapon that comes from one of the final bosses.
Okay.
So it's kind of not really like a viable build around for a run.
Yeah,
Because
that's
you
why
don't
we have
have
these
it
things
until
called New Game Plus.
Yeah, but that doesn't help you very much as you'll build around in the beginning, right?
You just build around it in your first playthrough, suffer horribly, and then in your second playthrough, you get to actually have fun.
Yeah, but like I'm talking in terms of like level 1 run stuff here.
Fair enough.
Right? I could take a certain weapon, but you know, it didn't seem super viable with that. But I was looking into this, and because I do like the Great Blade, and if I started with the military veteran starter class, I could have actually had the stats for it, because its actual requirements are fairly low. But what I discovered is through some interesting interactions of the Chalice dungeon system, you can get a burial blade as early as the Bloodstarved Beast, which, depending on your run process, could literally be your second boss.
That's ridiculous. I'm gonna go out on a limb and guess that you've done this.
Yeah, so this is why I changed my build on my current run, and I have exclusively been using the Burial Blade since then to beat the rest of the game on my way towards the end.
Fair.
So this comes from two things. So Bloodborne has the Chalice dungeons, which are procedurally generated. Well, there are.
Of course I am afraid.
The general thing is you start with the first one, play the default pre-made dungeon,
My brothers touch
which will unlock partway through the ability to do procedurally generated ones, and then a little bit at the end unlock the next standard. Each way this unlocks the next step of procedural dungeons by doing one normal version of it first that's been pre-generated
And
by
that is what I
actual
fear.
depths.
You don't
And this is a process. You have to do this step by step, slowly push your way
feel.
deeper in these, fight harder enemies, better rewards, you know?
Makes sense.
Proof of what?
That this life is all we
It like
have.
caps out around
Linger a
depth
while longer.
3, I
Tell me
think,
of the part you
in
were
the standard progression, and you can gain access to deeper ones by beating the Amygdala in the Nightmare Frontier much later in the game, which gives the Ailing Lauren Chalice, which I think is depth 4.
I do vividly remember fighting the amygdala for the first time.
And then it goes from there.
Makes sense that that's the one that made it.
And that's what's used to gain
Bloodborne.
access to the second set, which will eventually gain you access to very, very deep dungeons. Because Depth 5 dungeons actually are equivalent to New Game Plus, or Plus 2,
Followed my orders.
stats
Fun.
for enemy difficulties and stuff,
Same as
with
you.
equivalent rewards.
That's a long cutscene.
A lot of these are pretty long.
So what happens is very
Nice,
simple
haven't
here,
paying nearly as much attention as there should be.
is that the
Shocking.
the procedurally generated ones, though, one of the things you can get in them, potentially, is you can get slightly different versions of existing weapons. So you can get, they're either lost or uncanny versions, and they have slightly different gem loadouts, is the difference, because you can use blood gems to raise stats on weapons.
Do they appear any different or have any different flavor text or anything?
No,
Okay.
they're just slightly differently static. So, like, for example, the regular saw cleaver, I think, is they're either radial, crescent, or triangle
Okay.
gem slots. You'll usually have, most of these standard weapons will have like a 2 radial and then 1 either triangular or crescent, depending on the
That
weapon.
does sound vague. Seriously, enough of Bloodborne sounds vaguely familiar lately that I feel like I should remember more.
But yeah, so for instance, I believe by default the Burial Blade is radial, crescent. A lot of arcane weapons have crescent because crescent slots tend to boost magical stat damage. Or at least you get those runes more often for them. But you can get like for example, Lost and Uncanny versions, but slightly different loadouts. You might get like radial triangular crescent or radial triangular on a weapon that's crescent. It just means slightly different gem loadouts. Higher end players who are optimizing their gem slots might care about this more because you'll have better gems for a different type. If your best physical damage slot is a crescent and your best weapon does not have a crescent slot, well, you can't use it. But if you go into a dungeon and are able to find or purchase a lost or uncanny version that has the right slot, now you can get its stats a little higher with the right gemming.
Altair, you've caused quite a stir.
I've done
So-
as requested. Sabran's
Yeah,
life
so that's
is
the thing
ended.
there. And normally
So
it's
it
kind of a
is.
minor thing
So it
unless you're
is.
like playing a niche build or
should ride
really
for
care about the
Marciac and
optimization.
inform Al-Mualim
Like
of your
arcane
success.
builds often will
Yes.
like this because you can
I
get
should
more
return and
slots
speak to
that
him.
give arcane gems
Of this and other things.
with
sense.
lost
Is
or
everything
uncanny
all right,
variants.
my friend?
Um,
You seem
normally,
distant.
lost and uncanny
It's
variants
nothing
though,
with
you have to
Just
get
a lot on my mind.
the base
Talk to me
weapon
then.
before you can find them
me
in
help.
dungeons.
I need to make sense of this myself
Okay.
first.
And the burial
Thank you
blade's
for the
different?
offer.
It's
Kind
the
of.
man you kill,
I
isn't it?
think So I know DLC weapons, it's hard coded. You have to find it before it shows up in little mini dungeon shops. There are some exceptions with some things, particularly because the progression for gaining access to these dungeons is meant to be limited by your game progression.
You should embrace them.
Right? For its base version, you have to beat to the Bloodstarved Beast before you get access to low-level chalices. You have to get Amygdala before you get the lower-level chalices.
Pure in motive.
So even if like you could just do this the normal way, you would need to get Amygdala and then beat your way through the ones that are New Game Plus difficult before you start getting to Depth 5 chalices.
It
Okay.
is my pleasure to have served
So
with
in
one
theory,
skilled
if you
as
put a Burial Blade in one of those, you'd have to already be beating enemies that are harder than the final boss of the game, even if you could technically cheese it a little early, right?
And how did you get it?
But there is an entire community of people that really push the limits and constantly explore the Chalice Dungeon system, creating random seed Chalice Dungeons, looking for weird things. Because the thing is, you can save passcodes to Chalice Dungeons and share them with people.
Check out this challenge dungeon I just went through.
So sometimes, you start a Chalice Dungeon and you get like a weird seed. You get some enemy type that you normally never see. 5 years after the game, there was an entire new enemy type nobody had ever seen before that was found in like a weird Chalice Dungeon seed that like caused it to load into like
I remember hearing about
shit
that.
like this, But even outside of that, the Tomb Prospector community does a lot of this stuff.
Got some work.
And so one of the things that some people figured out
So you've got the
is
rest of
that
the night to
not through
yourself.
cheating, but through like RNG manipulation, more like what a speedrunner would do in playing Ocarina of Time or something, you can actually cause it to load the wrong Chalice dungeons when you create them. They call these so essentially what it can do is normally the like static versions of these dungeons you run first.
Do you think Desmond is getting traumatized by murdering all these people?
Absolutely.
Nope, it's working fine.
Absolutely, in fact. Fortunately, he knows how to compartmentalize and
Pretty sure you
ignore
should
it.
shut
That's
up.
part of his assassin raising training. So he's just going to suppress it
access
until
that
it
last
doesn't
memory of
matter.
yours?
I mean, most of the time when Desmond
wanna
kills
change
people,
everything.
it's as an
The way we
assassin
live,
who's
the
already
way
been
we
doing it
think,
for a
the way
while.
we are.
So I
You've
wonder
gotten
if
a
he's
lecture from me
actually is
about
getting
what's wrong with
traumatized
the
by
world,
doing it,
how
or
we
if
order
the
and
assassin's
discipline,
experience
so they're
and
going to give
composure
it to us.
prevents him from
And we
actually
don't
getting
have
the
a say
same
in the
trauma.
matter.
It'd be interesting to see the
It's
neurology
our
of it.
treasure. They think
Yeah.
it...
That's fair.
Miss Stillman?
I'm here.
I need you to upload Desmond's files to the database.
Got it.
But yeah, so essentially there's a difference between the random seed ones and the static ones. But certain RNG manipulation can cause creating a root chalice dungeon, the random seed ones, to instead, like, it'll be labeled and accessible like that, but it can load in a static chalice dungeon of a different depth instead.
So what you're saying is you use the secret knowledge of many lost hunters to literally cheat the fabric of reality to find the item you needed.
Yes.
You
More or
better
less.
have ended this run with the umbilical cords.
Why don't they just send their people?
I'm on my way to it. But,
It's not that simple.
but yeah, so essentially what it is
Artifacts from
I
Messiah,
cleared
they
the
had
first
it.
default
It was
starter dungeon
destroyed
because
in
you
an
have to get
accident.
Then what are they
two.
hoping
Well, I didn't
for
actually
me?
clear it all the
For
way
my
at that
ancestor
time
to tell them.
because you have to beat the
They're
second
hoping
boss in
he'll
the
show
first
them where the other
default
ones
chalice
are.
dungeon to
You mean there's
unlock the
more
root
than one of these
chalice.
things?
And with the level 1
Desmond,
root
You
chalice
have no idea.
and the right glyph from somebody's like RNG manipulated dungeon, you can load into
Is there a problem, Miss
No,
Stillman?
Warren.
what is a
Everything's
copy of
Denver on my
of the static 5 depth like corruptive, corruptive like deep Thumerian chalice or whatever
Gotta move
the
these
actual
files
name of
before
it
he
is.
gets suspicious.
And it's an exact copy of a
Talk
New
more
Game
later.
Plus difficulty dungeon
Wait,
that
what's
is,
that
for
mean?
some reason,
Everything's
loaded
Denver?
into the
It means
shell of a
everything's fine.
regular
Why
first
Denver?
depth dungeon.
I'm
The
gonna,
enemies are the right
Reference to
difficulty.
Denver International Airport.
I'm gonna go out on a
There's
limb
an
and guess you
underground
brave Sir
facility
Robin
there.
this.
It's where the
Absolutely.
accident happened.
Because fortunately, the alternate weapon types aren't boss drops, they're loot from chests in these dungeons. So I did die several times running past these New Game Plus like spider swarms, but I eventually got far enough in and managed to open a chest to give me enough iframes while somebody was swinging at me to pick up an uncanny burial blade, which I then immediately took, maximum leveled, and started I had switched off it since I picked it up. And that's my new theme for this run is early burial blade instead of
We got a
powder keg
time
weapons.
Time's
So
wasting, Mr. Miles.
it's been fun. It was an interesting experience learning about
yeah,
bulk
I'm
depth
nearly
challenge
done,
dungeons.
And then
It's a whole thing.
You'll see.
and like the sub-community stuff.
Let you watch when it begins.
Very interesting stuff.
It's not as terrible as
Wait a minute.
Because here's the reason this is for. Like,
So why not tell me
There
what's
are
going
windows here, right?
Humor me.
We've been able to see
I'm not
outside
an
in
idiot,
this
Mr.
area, right?
yep. The main room.
So
I
he
think
went
you've
to
already
bed
learned.
before the
quite a
sunset.
Yep.
I don't know what you're talking about.
How long did
course
he
not.
All right,
sleep?
let me ask you something else then.
Yes?
Some of
no.
the stuff I'm seeing in the animals,
Carefully with the
sometimes
plants,
it
obviously.
seems wrong.
I mean, how you going
Untrue,
through
like the
animals probably
history
takes a
is
toll
off
on your
somewhere.
body, so you probably sleep for that
It
long.
doesn't what, Mr. Miles?
I mean, he spends
Match up
like
with what you read
hours
on
in the
an online
Animus, gets
encyclopedia.
up,
What your
walks,
high school
I
history
don't know,
teacher
100
taught
feet,
you? Let me
Again,
ask
it
you
might.
something.
and then goes back to bed.
Supposed experts
Honestly,
have
I-
access to secret
like,
knowledge.
I get that his
Yeah.
mind's gonna be
From the rest of
exhausted,
us?
but there's no
There are
way
books,
his body's feeling
letters,
good right
documents.
now.
Oh,
All
well, yeah.
sorts of source
no,
material from back
That
then.
is very true.
Some of it seems to contradict what the Animus is showing me.
Anyone can write a book, and they can put whatever they want on its pages. Anything. Used to be, we thought the world was flat.
Some people still do.
Yes, and they publish books about it. Or that the moon landing was a hoax. I believe there's also a book claims the world was created in 7 days. A bestseller, too.
Where's this going, Doc?
The point, I suppose, is that you shouldn't trust everything you hear, everything you read. What's that your ancestors said? Nothing
Because it's
is true.
Assassin's Creed 1.
Everything is permitted.
That's fair.
Yes, exactly. It's part of what makes the Animus so spectacular.
Yes.
There's no room for
Funny thing with the-
misinterpretation.
There's
funny
always
thing,
room.
I have to say, with the Bible,
Touché,
it's
Mr.
funny how
Miles.
literally people take it.
Now that I've answered your question,
Because I
can we
highly
begin?
doubt that they were actually being like, yeah, no, the Earth was created in 7 days. No, it's more like the Earth was created and we're just shortening it to give like a sense of scale.
I mean, yeah.
Some people take it literally. Some
Yeah,
people take it as metaphor, and I can kind of understand both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To a degree.
I usually see it more as a metaphor.
I mean, yeah, but I feel like that when back in the day, it wasn't intended. It's entirely reasonable to believe it was written as literal, not as fundamental, rather than metaphor.
Whenever
I
you're
mean,
ready.
it's possible, but
Just
we don't
let
know.
the memory
Yeah,
go
I
back
mean,
to
we
this
don't even necessarily know who actually wrote the various books of the Bible.
Yep, we know for some of them.
Throwing soldiers from
And that's it.
rooftops and into structures is a useful
Yeah, plus there's stuff like the Dead
educational
Sea Scrolls and the like, where it's like,
Most
the implications of a lot of the older books that never made it into the modern Bible.
Yeah, most of the Old Testament we aren't sure
are
on.
close, I
I
tell
think I
Robert
think
de
for a lot of the
Sable
New
is now
Testament we have an
all that
idea of
stands
who
between
wrote
us
quite a
and
few of them.
victory.
For a lot of the New Testament, we have
It is his
people who are
mouth gives the
credited with
orders.
it,
His
but most
hand
of the
is
actual
goal.
books
With
generally
him dies the knowledge
reach
of the
their
temple treasure and any
ancient
threat
forms
to
like 100 or 200 years after the events took place. Because a lot of early Christianity was an oral tradition rather than a
Yeah.
physical tradition, just due to how persecuted they were in the early days.
Yep, that's true.
The thing consumed him. He saw not a dangerous weapon to be destroyed,
Thanks,
but a
Walling.
tool,
Very helpful.
one that would help him realize
Yeah,
his
I'll
life's
finish
ambition.
the last little bit of my
Dreamed
book
of
story,
power then.
which is not actually my story. It's just the false depth thing. Because the reason people figure it out and the reason they use it is part of the Tomb Prospector thing.
this is a man
Because
who sought to
when
see
you
the
start a
Holy
new
Land
character
consumed
and
by
want to
war.
start getting into your build
No,
and getting
Atreyu.
into the high-level
How
Chalice
can you
dungeon
not
challenges,
see when you're the one
they
that
don't want to
opened
have
my
to
eyes to
grind through the
What do you
low-level
mean?
ones,
What do he
leave
and
back
his
to the base
followers
game,
want?
progress 70% of the base game to get the high-level chalice and keep doing it.
I do not despise
They want to
his
jump
goal.
right into
I
grinding
share
out
it,
high-level
but I
chalices.
take issue
Makes
with
sense to me.
means.
So they just clear up to Bloodstarved
something
Beast,
to be
Beast,
learned,
boot
to be
into one of these,
understood,
and because the shell loads into a
embraced.
story chalice,
force it.
one of the ones that is meant to be a
And
pattern
Ross
It
specifically
unlocks
dropped.
all the stuff.
Strange.
Because it'll basically it'll recursively grant
Never
access to
have a
itself.
hate for your
They'll play like the
victims,
level
Altair.
4 false depth chalice, and it will give the route that lets you play level 4 chalices.
Could he not be convinced then?
So they can
End
use
his
this to
mad
skip
quest.
straight into the end game
spoke
chalice
to
stuff,
him
start
in my
collecting
way,
uncanny
through you.
special weapon versions, start collecting
was
high
it
level
killing
gems,
if not a message?
massive XP drops, and just
He has
immediately
chosen
jump right
to
into it.
ignore us.
They don't have to
Then
play
there's
the
only
regular
one thing
game at
left
all.
to do.
Nice.
Yeah,
Jerusalem
and I respect
is
that.
where
It's
you
like
faced him
it's
first.
wacky speedrun tech. I just took advantage of it to get
where
my
you'll
favorite weapon
find him
before the
now.
literal end of the game.
Boo.
This final offering lend you strength.
But it's been fun. I consider that a valid
No,
like
Altair.
specialty run.
Did you
use
remember-
the final boss weapon to beat the main game?
Ezio Auditore de Firenze is in Soul Calibur.
Oh yeah, he was. He was in like 5. No,
Yeah,
4.
5. It was 5.
No, I thought it was 4 because 5 was the one that kind of killed it for a while.
It was 5.
That's fair.
Okay, it's a 5. Okay, I thought it was
Wacky.
4.
Yeah, I thought it was
I never
2 at
played Soul
first. I
Calibur.
only knew because I googled it before I brought it up.
Yeah, no, I definitely knew it wasn't 2 because 2 was way before Assassin's Creed.
Yeah,
You said you thought
I
it was
said
2.
4.
Oh, I thought you said 2.
No.
I heard 2.
Huh.
Yeah. So that.
Let's just agree it was Stuart Salt?
Yep. Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, no, I was like half an hour into his
was 4?
Bloodborne story.
Was 4 then?
That was the Yoda Darth Vader one.
Okay.
And I think Starkiller in one of the versions.
I think Starkiller was in one of the versions.
Yeah.
Starkiller's so freaking wild that actually happened.
No, like Soul Calibur, I remember 3, I think. I think it was 3 that had Link?
2. It was 2 that had Link. That's why I was kind of confused.
Right, that was the GameCube version?
Yeah, it was the GameCube version. Who was the other version?
I only played the GameCube version. And even that was only at a friend of my brother's house.
Yeah, mine was at a neighbor's.
You're out of knives. Refill your stock by returning to Messiah.
I think
or by
6 had
pickpocketing
Kratos.
thugs.
That sounds great.
Kratos. Good stuff. We love that. We love that for them.
Honestly, considering I only ever played like 3 of the Soul Calibur games over the years, I really love Soul Calibur.
Soul Calibur's a really nice. It's a really nice setting. I like a lot of it.
Yeah, like there's one guy into I'm sure he keeps showing up obviously, but I remember him in 2.
Yeah.
He's the dude who's got like this green orb with like
Yeah.
that was
that
such
guy.
a cool weapon because it just shapes into whatever weapon he needs. And it was so cool as a fighting style.
In all honesty, like one of my favorite weapons that I saw was I know a lot of people will instantly go to the whole sex factor for her, but Ivy. I loved her weapon.
Honestly, she's a super fun character to play in most of them.
I just love her whole whip thing. It was just really cool.
It was. Like, so many characters just had really cool weapons.
Yes, I agree.
Also, Soul Calibur 2, the other 2 guest characters were Heihachi Mishima from Tekken.
Okay.
And Spawn.
Okay.
Yeah, apparently Spawn was the guest character in the Xbox version, which, that actually fits pretty well.
Yep. Alright, I forgot to do that. Time to go back to the bureau really quickly.
I can't think of these places as bureaus without immediately thinking of the FBI.
Yeah.
I'm just imagining Altair in like as an FBI agent.
Yeah, I mean,
still in ancient Jerusalem, just dressed up as an FBI agent walking through.
Fair.
That would be pretty wacky. You almost skipped that flag. How dare you?
I know. Well, I was trying to get it. I saw it and it's like, okay.
Brain just didn't react.
Only 86 more.
No, Altair decided to grab onto the ladder again.
Gotcha. Oh yeah.
Gotta climb that corporate ladder somehow.
Yeah.
The final thing about Bloodborne. I need this one more time.
Oh no.
This isn't a story. This is a plan. And it's not about me. This is about you. And all of us.
No.
Because I was thinking.
Literally my nightmares.
Well, yes, that's the idea.
Well, if we're going to do that, we might as well just play through Dream Simulator. LFT Dream Simulator.
Oh, that's a good idea.
But I was thinking, since one of you has played but does not remember Bloodborne, and the other has basically not played Bloodborne, maybe we'll just have to do it on stream, even if it takes us like 30 hours.
So I remember bits and pieces. Like,
yeah, and it'll all come back to you if you play it on stream with us.
Since last week, I did watch someone's speedrun playthrough, and a few specific boss fight special attacks caused me to flinch back when I saw them, and then showed up again in my nightmares that night. So I'm pretty sure
but how and why.
Those were the bosses I had trouble
These things
with.
remain out of reach.
That's fair. Yep. So clearly, it's time to
They are none of
speedrun
these
Bloodborne.
things, but something else.
When you say speed run, do you mean see if we can finish it in less than 48 hours?
No.
No, I mean like literally speedrun.
Oh no.
What is this?
48 hours, you say? Maybe that's what we should do.
Subathon?
Just pick a weekend and just play Bloodborne. You got one of you two starts, and we just play from beginning to end.
So what is the speedrun record for Bloodborne right now? For like just any percent?
I
have no idea.
I'll look it up.
I'll be quick as I can.
Yeah, just just the any percent.
Any percent. 18 minutes 49 seconds
Fair. Okay.
is the in-game time.
Yeah, man.
What's the RTA time then?
RTA time looks like 20 minutes and 3 seconds.
Okay.
So that's, I think, just subtracting load screens
Yeah.
primarily.
And sometimes I know with game time there's usually some sort of desynchronized that's not there with RTA.
Any percent current patch, though, for the up-to-date version is about 27 minutes.
Okay.
After they took out one of the bigger sequence breaks, I think.
So they still haven't gotten it down to the length of a dream. Shame.
Sounds about right.
And there, I think one of the bigger sequence breaks is still in there that I remember. I think I did it once, actually, because it's not actually that hard to do once you like know how to do it. There's a way you can like run up onto a ledge and jump across. Because I don't know how much you know about the layout of Bloodborne.
It's
But-
non-Euclidean.
Well, yes, except for where it is. But
sorry,
this is actually
sorry. I'm just going to interrupt. Apparently a Templar was chasing me, and I guess the Templar fell off a building and died.
Nice.
I don't know.
We take those.
I just saw the notification saying that a Templar was eliminated.
Impressive.
So sorry, I had to interrupt there because that was funny.
No, fair. It was a worthy interruption.
But yeah, so right at the beginning, you wake up at a clinic, and you come back to the other side of a gate in that clinic much later in the game.
I know this glitch.
So you can, if you do it just right, like jump over the fence, and if you like go down the ladder into the Forbidden Woods, it immediately progresses the game like 2 steps further in its time scale and gives you access to Forbidden Woods, which leads right to Shadows of Yharnam, which when you beat is straight to the thing, which sets you up to the like road to the end. You can skip a huge chunk of game by doing this. If I remember correctly, I haven't looked into this in a long time.
I think I've seen.
I also just
seen that
discovered that
speedrun,
apparently the all bosses glitchless speedrun is still only an hour 15 minutes, and I don't know how that works.
There we go.
They're very, very good at
So
the
I
game.
guess it depends on whether glitchless includes sequence breaking.
Yeah, it depends on how. It depends.
Yeah,
I
depends.
don't know
Yeah.
how they define the category for Bloodborne. I'd have to look it up.
Yeah.
Because it might not abuse like teleportation glitching, which I think Bloodborne, like a lot of Souls games, there are some wacky things you can do by like quitting and loading back in at like the exact right spots. I know that's how you do the Dark Souls 1 glitch allowed speedrun. Just get a good weapon, save and quit in the exact right spot, and you load back in inside the kiln. And you just immediately go fight quit.
Good times.
But I assume jumping over the gate probably is not glitchless.
Well, they were surprisingly
I
friendly.
don't know.
Yeah.
I'd expect at least 3 people to be dead by now.
I trust you here for the funeral. Or for Robert. I've kept my eyes on years old.
Anyway, the
but I've
important
nothing
point
to
is simple.
Things are
And
quiet.
that point is, we should play
Perhaps Tari
Bloodborne.
Casino heard something you can use.
If
The
nothing else,
station's
I
not
will
far from
probably at some point stream
what
the
knowledge
minimum
he
level
has.
run, whether it's 4 or 10. But since you guys have minimal experience, you should definitely do it. So you know, maybe we make it
There
funny.
we go.
Maybe
Now
maybe we
they're
do something
angry.
really wacky. Each of you controls half the controller.
Oh gosh, no.
One of you gets the left side, one of you gets the right side. You gotta ogre mage this shit.
That sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah.
What if one
that's the point.
What if one
Bloodborne.
person controls the movement and the other person controls everything else?
So
and the
more
item
ogre
switching.
mage. So more ogre mage.
Yeah, go full all in on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, one person controls the movement and the items, what item you're wielding. The other person controls the rest of the character.
But yeah, point being,
Yes, Mario Party Deluxe style.
Yeah, Mario Party 7. Yeah.
point being, you know, if
Because
we have to make it
Mario Party 7 had the 8-player minigames.
but one way or not, you know, I think
And what you had to do for Mario Party 7 for the 8-player minigames is that one person held one half of the controller and another person held the other half. And you played as a team.
you can only have, yeah, that makes sense. Because you only have 4 Joy-Cons maximum. Okay.
Well, no, this is Mario Party 7. This is GameCube.
Oh, GameCube?
This is GameCube.
Oh, yes, what was the...
8-player minigames.
Yeah, I was thinking because they did something similar with,
That's Smash Bros.
What's that? Yeah, whatever, sure. Yes, I understand the 4 controller next and then dividing it further. Yeah, I just also thought that was the thing that they did separately.
No, I don't think they did. I don't think they ever did for Superstars or Super Mario Party.
Yeah, I guess I don't remember the ordering of Mario Party, but I understand the principles involved here. I understand the concept of love. As Jet Set Radio would put it.
And moving on.
The point is, Jet Set Radio is cool, is my understanding.
Anything you describe as, this is cool, according to my understanding, might not be as cool as you think it is, my guy.
No, I think it's that cool. It's just I am that cool. And therefore I'm correct by default.
Learn something new about my friends every day. Didn't even know he was cool.
I'm going to burn for that one. I just thought you should know.
And this is a change?
I never said it was a change, I just said it was true.
Do you think the reason the AIs work so bad inside the Animus 1.00000000010? Do you think the reason that the AIs are so bad is because I lost track of my joke somewhere in saying all of the zeros?
Yes.
It does sound like a bad. Let's call it half credit. I'll give you half credit.
More than I expected, I'll take it.
And more than you deserve.
There's nice things. Like the potatoes you just ruthlessly stole.
I was gonna say, they just take.
You just reached into my bag and stole a potato.
Left it there for hours.
Yeah, because I got distracted by this hour-long story about Bloodborne that went in 50 different
Sounds like a
directions.
you problem.
It was your story. You were the problem.
I don't know. Still sounds like a you problem.
So we can say that this is probably a skill issue.
I guess if you want those warm, you could probably use the air fryer. That would actually probably work pretty well for those.
Nah. No JoJo's. JoJo's are still good cold.
Like I said, if you wanted them warm, that would probably work better than a microwave.
It's really funny because there's a streamer that I know. I haven't really watched much of their stuff, but I've seen them in collabs with other people. Their username is JoJo Solos. So every time I hear JoJo's now, I just think of them.
Fair. Yeah, no. JoJo's got ingrained as the term for potato wedges in my head at a very young age at a gas station next to a private Christian school.
Yeah, no, that's right.
You know, where you keep those Ma and Pa gas stations.
Well, yeah, obviously. Where else are you going to put them?
Yeah. They're the only business owners in that entire town who I know for a fact are atheists.
Okay.
Yeah, you learn unexpected details about people. Sometimes.
All the time, really.
Yeah. Ended up doing like 3 different college essays related to that gas station, actually.
Fair.
I had a lot of childhood memories that were connected to it.
Most of my college
Excellent
essays were
timing,
about more
Daniel.
abstract stuff.
I found something
Very
you'll find
rarely
quite
did I
useful.
significantly
Orders
involve
for
personal
Robert's guard.
memories. At least that I can remember. I might have just forgotten those papers.
Yeah, no, I had like three different classes where every paper during the term was use a personal memory.
Oh.
And back then, I wasn't the type to lie on those sort of things, just, self-aggrandize.
I mean, I usually wouldn't lie about a personal memory for writing an essay because I feel like, I mean, I might exaggerate a little bit from the obvious, but like, usually I would pick a basis if I had a reasonable one, and if I didn't have a reasonable one that fit, I would spin that into the basis of the essay.
That's fair.
At least generally speaking. But yeah, really, I only remember like 2 college essays that I wrote. One that was from a computer ethics thing that I think I wrote about kind of the interesting divestment of the kind of abstraction of ethics people feel digitally. Right? It's kind of like, okay, like, wow, nice catch. I thought you were goner.
You son of a gun.
But yes, I think I primarily looked at it from kind of like the lens of like, let's say you're playing a game like, with another person, right? Just playing like an
all the way
MMO.
over here.
If you're like doing something like, to that person, like, obviously like, you're not going to literally physically to them, but it is still like a real person you are, doing things to them, right?
Yeah, the impact of anonymity online.
Yeah, but it was also kind of abstraction in the sense of when you were
Murder him!
No!
I did also talk about it in the sense of when you're not directly physically doing anything to them, but like still, like the one step removed nature of it. Like, I think one example I used specifically was like spawn camping somebody, for instance. Right, like, if you're sitting there and you're just kind of like ruining their day a little bit, by just like killing them every time they get back up or something like that, and kind of like looking at that, it's like, okay, like, what level of abstraction that have, what would you consider this to be ethically?
The camera.
Yep.
And some stuff like that. So I felt like there's a pretty solid essay about that. The only other one that I vaguely remember is...
Guys, there's just one of me.
A class called Science and Religion that was about the interaction between, the two, and about how they weren't always as opposed as people consider them to be nowadays.
Yeah, which is so weird that they are so
There
opposed
were many
nowadays.
points where science was considered an act of religion. Understanding the universe that God gave us, or that the gods gave us, depending on who you asked.
Yeah, it's just so weird the divide.
And the
that
class kind of talked
that's
about the
happening.
history and philosophy relating that relationship and when those things started to change.
Hell, natural philosophy.
Yeah.
And yeah, kind of
Like, I don't understand why when
they
that direction
started to be
is still
considered
weird.
pitched against each other and stuff, It was interesting.
I would say, America also has kind of skews that lens a little more into its side than a lot of nations.
That's fair. Yeah.
I mean,
the divide still is very clearly existing, not just
literally to this day,
but it's
don't
exact.
say- Actually, we still don't have any proof that evolution is real. I think it sounds frankly made up. Literally.
No, I know. I'm cited some.
Well, yeah, the word was made
Not
up.
to get like too political here.
Yeah, the word was made up. It was made up to. It was made up to.
Literally on Joe Rogan said, I think evolution is fake, like 3 days ago.
Oh, okay.
That's how research people talk about this shit.
Again, I'm related to someone who makes those claims.
Like
I get it.
Just wacky, that's all.
Like, sure, yeah, like if you want to go that far, yeah, no, technically everything is made up, but like it's made up because the words are made up.
Yeah. The thing that throws me off about the evolution argument specifically is
it doesn't.
It's literally just observing something in the micro scale, one generation to the next.
And also like it's also like
you don't have to buy into the idea that everything evolves from single-celled organisms to recognize the process of evolution happens in real life.
Specific nitpick people
will
try and use about it. It is frankly incredible how much you can see that it is based on literally like 3 points that people will say over and over. Because there are no good arguments. They have to use a couple that sound okay if you don't listen to them.
yeah, and it's like even when going off of like the.
Mostly it involves facetious comparisons to other things.
Like, even when going off of, like, just the pure religious aspect, it's like, as a religious person, oh, okay, that guy just,
Hey, he saw his chance and he ran for it.
because as a religious person, or at least on the more religious side, like, we were created to be like the animals on the earth as well. So that would make sense that we would follow evolution.
Like realistically,
It's very simple. It's like, okay, so you think it's like, all right, so some of these people say it's like, oh, so you think it's too complicated for evolution to ever happen, almost as if like maybe but you think that it's too impossible for anything to have ever evolved from a single cell organism. God had to have created it. I mean, couldn't it literally just be both?
Yes.
God created it and made it evolve. Like
yes, literally.
It's like literally the easiest possible reconciliation. But evolution doesn't have to be false for like you to believe things.
The thing about
it can coexist.
Is like
very silly.
It's pretty hard to argue people aren't the universe observing itself.
Yeah.
Whether or not there's a source for it or not, we're still kind of defaulting into that role just because we can observe.
Yeah, exactly.
And we're part of the closed system.
Yeah. It's just really funny.
Yeah.
Anyways, we should probably get on to the topic.
So, to jump to a far less contentious topic, so there's a recent theory regarding the origins of life, or one I've recently found anyway, that's really interesting. So the idea is that the early universe,
yes, less contentious topic.
All I'm saying is that
I was being sarcastic.
I know you
All
were.
I'm saying is honestly, Assassin's Creed, it makes sense to have these things come up while playing it sometimes.
True.
Yeah.
But no, hey, everything's permitted. Nothing is true.
I am stealing another.
You absolute monster.
Anyways,
No, basically the theory is, without going into super detail, it's possible, if you look at DNA, it's about twice as complex as it was this far back in time, which was about twice as complex as it was that far back in time. And if you follow that scale far enough back, you end up long before life would have shown up on Earth, according to science.
Yep.
So the answer for that is the early universe may have been way more habitable to life than we really realized, with everything being in these huge condensed gas clouds, a lot of heat, a lot of energy running around. So the idea is that life might have evolved in in open space, in these giant clouds of matter and energy, evolved during that period of time, and then that highly evolved life eventually reaches Earth and fits perfectly into the pattern as we see it today.
Yep, that's very possible.
It's an interesting theory. I saw like a month ago.
Yeah, well,
I mean, yeah, that's one of the theories.
I mean, one common theory that I've heard of is like, one thing is it's very possible that aliens do exist. It's just that they are so far out, and the technology they have is also not nearly as well developed, so they can't contact us either.
True.
I've heard that theory quite a lot.
Oh, there's also the what is it? The Islander theory of space.
Oh yeah.
Where all of the
I've never heard about that.
Yeah, all the planet. I think Kurzgesagt did a really good video on it recently. They're on YouTube. Anyway, the idea is that all of the there's only so many habitable planets, and a lot of them move away from each other as time goes on the macro scale, even inside of the galaxy. So the idea is that you can only really go to the planets that are nearby if space might just be dangerous enough. It never becomes easy regardless of your technological level.
Yeah.
So you go to these nearby planets, these separate islands, and then they move away, and so the two cultures diverge rapidly, or heavily anyway, possibly, and maybe one of them dies off, maybe not, and now that's free real estate for whoever that planet is close to now.
Yeah.
Free real estate.
Exactly. Honestly, all the various theories of space, aliens, evolution, all that kind of stuff, I just find it fascinating.
Oh, it's pretty fascinating.
Even the stuff I look at, I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's just crazy talk. But it's interesting crazy talk.
But at the same time, it's also considering that we don't know as much about space as a lot of other things. It's also very possible.
Yeah. It's still I still wonder if we know more about space or the ocean. I think it might be space.
We know both. Because we have the all-seeing eye from the ocean. Really, the ocean is just it's a Lovecraftian thing.
Yeah.
See, Lovecraft was actually onto something, and he was just talking about the ocean.
Never thought we'd say that about Lovecraft.
There you are. Hit the bush for you, sir.
Safety and peace, Master. Have you seen all the vile Templars in town? I have been ordered to kill as many as I can before the burial of your latest victim, Majd Udin. I am sure if it were your mission, it would be done in no time. I have learned
How many characters
much while
actually
looking
have
for those
faces in this
Templars.
game?
I will share valuable
A lot of
information
them.
with you when you get back.
But not enough. Not enough for me. Face stealer.
I'm so hungry. Just a little money. I
Good bit, I guess.
So we're
Not,
doing
not a good bit, it's just a bit.
It certainly was.
Yep.
Could you spare a few
Alright,
coins?
come on. Climb up. You can do it. Climb up. Good, Altair. I'm just going to completely ignore the entire mission and grab that block. Yeah. I know.
Yeah, those are supposed to be crazy people walking around. Is that what they're supposed to be?
I think either mentally ill or probably afflicted with some sort of illness.
That makes sense. Oh, were they in that? We already cleared out the hospital, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
But they start showing up right around then, don't they?
No, they actually showed up before.
Huh.
I would probably say not nearly as common, probably because it's just easy you in on like the whole.
Yeah, that makes sense.
On the whole mechanic.
Understandable.
You are not supposed to be here. Leave.
Oh.
I'm going down!
That's not related to any of this or any of the Bloodborne stuff.
Well, small mercies.
It's about baking.
I'll take it.
There we go.
So I've been considering for this weekend some stuff to bake. And I came down to mostly two things. And then for reasons I mostly narrowed that down to one thing. So I was looking at like a cookie recipe that I made before, but I was going to try to do a little better this time. Well, they were not bad the previous time. It's a large batch, and this weekend seemed like a good time for it. So I was thinking double duty between Saturday and then bring over to Sunday to do that too. Problem is, it includes peanut butter. Some nut allergies, I think. So I decided that would be a bad, not an ideal choice. I would want to go for something that doesn't have any allergies for obvious reasons. So what I'm instead looking at is a banana split bar.
Huh. That sounds vaguely threatening and interesting.
So it's kind of like breathing. Like it involves some pineapple or some reason, but also like a bunch of banana and like maraschino cherry and stuff, kind of into like a bar thing that you then do kind of like a.
Hey guys,
like sort of
not
like
by me. Ow.
Like it's like sugar glaze over the top and stuff. I think it looks pretty solid. And that's what I'm thinking.
Oh, you know what? One series we should definitely play through at some point. 13 trilogy.
Yeah.
What?
Final Fantasy 13,
Oh, yeah.
13-2, and Lightning Returns Final Fantasy 13.
Yeah. I'd be down for that.
Like, honestly, the first game is a really good story, I think, genuinely. The second game is a really fun game. And the third game is, exists.
Just stop. Just stop.
I'll admit, so, Lightning Returns has DLC weapons that you can start with, including some that are really, really strong, but also like crippling hyper specialization way. Like I think one of them reduces your maximum health by 90% or something like that, which I don't recommend on your first playthrough if you happen to not read that. And then equip it and just assume your health being that short's the normal way of playing, despite it going up way more when you
This
put
is like
your
somebody who doesn't realize how hollowing works in Dark Souls 2, and you get knocked out of like 50% health early on and then forget about it.
Don't call me out like that.
Ever recover your hit points.
Don't call me out like that. It took me so long to figure out hollowing in my first playthrough. And target lock. And leveling up. And how to get the Estus class. I was bad at Dark Souls, so.
Oh my gosh.
So say we all. Exos.
Which is really weird considering I had played and beaten Demon's Souls before I played 2. I really should have remembered something.
Not anything. Dang, where was that Templar that was roaming about?
I have no idea.
Probably dead.
No, he's not. He's not. He was the one that killed
I
him.
mean, in the Animus he might be fine, but I'm pretty sure he is dead.
Oh, well.
That seems unlikely. It's only been a few hundred years. Humans normally live what? 600 years?
Because if I wasn't lollygagging so much trying to climb a tower, I wouldn't have taken so much damage, and if I did a much better job at actually, doing combat, then I wouldn't have died there.
So what you're saying is you're not behaving like Altair and it's causing you problems.
Yes, exactly.
You're not synchronized, you could say, with the character.
Yep. It's weird with the Templars, because I think what it is that they all have like an area that they kind of like control.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm surprised we didn't play wise. Seems very plausible.
Guys, I'm trying to grab a flag. It's fine.
Oh, also, you know how Morrowind has a multiplayer mode?
Yeah, you were talking about that. Yeah.
We definitely need to do a 3-player multiplayer Morrowind playthrough.
We just don't have enough time in the world. How are we gonna play Morrowind and Bloodborne with 3 players in both? We'll have to block out multiple weekends.
I'm just trying to imagine playing through the entirety of an Elder Scrolls game, even a short one like Skyrim, in like one extended sitting, and that sounds like hell on earth.
Well, okay, the answer is simple. You set a goal, a specific goal that does not require as much time as this entire playthrough.
So on that note,
Specifically just like, oh, let's just start and just stream all the way through like this one quest line.
on that note, I am currently playing through Morrowind.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, so I'm doing a challenge run, bit of a challenge run. My highest starting skill was Speechcraft, and I'm not playing a thief, which
I remember you telling me about this.
yeah, if you've played Morrowind, you can do a pretty solid pacifist run actually, because a lot of quests can be cleared by stealing shit from people. Instead of murdering them and then stealing from their corpses.
I have to climb back up.
But
No, sounds fake.
All the way over here.
I don't have alteration, or no, sorry, I don't
So I
have
can grab this
mysticism,
flag?
I think, in this one.
Because some guy wanted to push me off a building.
So I can't cast open lock spells. I don't have security. I think my security's like 10. So I can't pick locks. I don't have any stealth worth a damn, so I can't sneak. But I have really good
deal with you right
speedcraft, which means I can get people to try and murder me, and normally succeed because I'm level like 5, without going to jail for it.
Nice.
And that's my one redeeming feature as a member of the Mages Guild.
Hey, Eagle.
Downside is I pissed off one of the quest givers in Balmora, the
Oh, no.
only one available to me.
That's awkward.
Yeah, so one of my rules for this run is I can only save once a day. My character gets out of bed either at 6 or 7 a.m. depending on the day. I save my game, and then I can't save my game for another 24 in-game hours. Pretty simple rule. I got a couple other limited ones, but that's the big one. But when I did that, I saved my game. I walked up to the alchemist lady. I'm blanking on her name right now.
Yeah.
She's a Khajiit in the Balmora Mages Guild. I walked up to her and I started praising her in the, Speechcraft minigame. And I got her disposition up to like 90. So I'm like, awesome, we're best friends now. I'll go do the mission for her. I'll come back. It'll be great. I can already see like a little story developing between the characters, because that's how you play an Elder Scrolls game properly. You kind of develop a story in your own head.
Mm-hmm.
And then I died. I think I picked a fight with a small worm that can use paralysis, and then I got knocked over while fighting it in the middle of the bog. And then I drowned.
Awkward.
Yeah, no, I drowned in 6 inches of water. I didn't even know you could drown that easily in that game. So then I walk up to her, Ajira, that's her name. I walk up to her a second time and start praising her again. And I start failing. And I keep failing.
Oh no!
So I bribe her 400 gold and then take the mission from her, and that got me back up to about 50 disposition with her. So I start trying to praise her again. And I drop right back down to 0. She hates me now. So I go do the mission for her, come back, turn it in. I can't turn it in. She hates me too much to accept her own quest back from her.
That's funny.
So I bribe her another like 300 gold. At this point, I'm out of money. I have given this woman almost 1,000 septims in bribe money so that I can do a task for her. So I turn it in, and I exit out of the conversation, and I'm like, oh shit, I forgot to try and sell her anything. So I open it back up. My disposition's back down to 7. The bribes did not last. Speechcraft's my highest skill. Personality's my highest attribute. They're both in their 70s. I should be, this is the one thing I should be good at. So anyway, I alienated the entire Mages Guild in Balmora when I started trying to train my speechcraft. So I fled to the other side of the continent and joined House Telvanni.
Sounds terrifying.
Yeah, it was...
Mostly the Telvanni part?
Honestly, the Telvanni are great. Their might makes right, taken to the most ridiculous extreme, obviously. And the best part about House Telvanni is if you... There's a point late in the game, in the main quest, where you have to get the 3 great houses you're able to join in the game. You can join 1 per playthrough. You have to get all 3 of them to give you a title as part of the main quest.
Only because it serves your needs.
House Telvanni has a backup method to getting the title. See, if you get kicked out of the house, nobody in House Telvanni actually notices because no one cares.
So long as my brothers and I breathe, you will not
But
succeed.
if you kill every other member on the island of House Telvanni, you get a journal update when you do this, where it's like, there's no one else alive on the island who's in House Telvanni, so I just declared myself the Hortator. It's the only great house you can do it with without becoming the leader. Because if you're the leader, you just declare yourself anyway.
Fair.
It's ridiculous, and one of the members of House Telvanni is a level, I think, 50? 1,000-year-old Dunmer Archmage who wears full Daedric armor. There's 2 sets of Daedric armor in the game. The one he has, and piecemeal, individual pieces spread throughout the game and both DLCs. Like, I think the Right Cauldron did not show up until the final DLC of Morrowind. The Daedric Right Cauldron.
That Templar, I could just say that I used that Templar at the Hero Revenge.
Yeah, that worked.
Run like the wind, I'll say it.
Yeah, there's this. Yeah, one of the items in the Daedric set is.
Progression. We're getting quite close to the end.
Oh, we're basically we're getting there. I think they're.
If we don't do it tonight,
Yeah. I think we'll definitely do it next week. Yeah.
because I guess it depends on the 2 of you. If you guys think we're close enough, we could maybe shoot for the end here. I don't know exactly how much playtime we have left.
Not tonight. Yeah.
I'd be alright with,
Yeah, I'm trying to let me get through this and then
finish it next time. And
probably didn't post it. Time to rest, to be honest.
Yeah, that's why.
Okay, let me do these last couple of capture points then.
But yeah, the Daedric set, like, there's also only 1 copy of every Daedric weapon in the game. Most Daedra wield ebony weapons and like instead. And most of these, or at least a significant chunk of these items, aren't equipped to anyone. They're just static items in the world. Like one of the items that shows up in the Tribunal expansion, there's basically a 10-minute jumping puzzle off in a direction you're never supposed to actually go, where you have to climb to the bottom of a waterfall and I think climb up a second waterfall, which requires the use of levitate.
Very fun.
And if you do all that, you can get one of the Daedric items. It's so far out of the way, I'm not sure you can find it in any casual playthrough. There's there's 3 Daedric Helms actually. The Daedric Face of God, the Daedric Face of Terror, and I think the Daedric Face of Joy. One of those is hidden behind 3 dungeons. You go into a dungeon and you get to the end of the dungeon, and there's a hidden entrance to a second dungeon. And you go to the end of that dungeon, and there's a hidden entrance to a 3rd dungeon.
Yeah, that's...
And that 3rd dungeon has... And each of these has unique items at the end of them. It's not like there's no unique items till the 3rd one. All 3 of them have unique shit. Morrowind had so much shit you would never find in a million years of playing the game.
Dark Souls 1 kind of did that, though it was a less impressive version of it, of course. But it is wacky because, first off, invisible walls in Dark Souls 1 were not very easily detectable in a lot of them. Like, obviously, some were easier than others, but yeah, one of the random ones is like, oh yeah, you go down a little narrow tunnel, there's a chest.
You have to leave the area and come back.
The chest has, like, a weapon. It's something fairly standard, but not, like, unsurprising.
Mm-hmm.
The main thing here, though, is that in Dark Souls 1, and honestly, all the Dark Souls games, most invisible walls are flat planes.
I can just take care of this. I am
particularly the most common type of invisible wall is, oh, this archway looks like it goes somewhere. I hit all of those in every Souls game just to check, but yeah, this one's just like the back of like a natural tunnel. It's like a curved end to a spot, and you have to wiggle around behind the chest and hit it. And then it goes like, an extra 5 feet back and there's another chest. And it's, the chest has like, just a valuable thing. And it's just like, oh yeah, that's a neat little secret. But if you do it to the second chest, then you have an entire 1.5 zones with an entire Covenant bonus boss.
That's amazing.
And it's one of like the most more important sets of ones to the background of the world. The tree leading to the Great Hatch.
I actually know which one it is then.
Where you get to see the gray crags and the arch trees. Just like in the intro stuff.
Ah, right, the Bloodborne reference.
Yeah.
Yes. The Bloodborne reference.
I think that might be the single worst possible way to interpret that.
Probably.
I'm a little proud.
Don't worry, we're all the worst possible way to interpret most things we do.
For goodness sakes, it's still broken. Okay, fine, I'll climb up this one then. I guess this could probably work. Wait.
You are not allowed to be here.
Yes, I know I'm not allowed to be here. I am now allowed to be here. Just deal with it.
Oh, you know what they say? Nothing's a lie. Everything is allowed.
That's true. What are you doing up here? How rude.
I was having a moment. No respect for others.
Excuse me, I'm trying to talk to my friend.
And I pressed the jump button, and Altair just decided to flop.
I mean, he certainly jumped, just down.
Yep.
If this was WoW and you were playing a warrior, that would have worked perfectly.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, it worked out just fine. Where's the...
I forgot a point I was going to make during our initial conversation.
I don't even remember.
Stuff.
Oh, yeah!
Oh, we can talk about that after.
Right.
We can talk about that after.
It's just very wild. I had a point that I was going to say, and then I completely forgot it until just now. Classic moment.
Indeed.
You have no business.
Don't mind me.
I spent so long on the job search in recent months. I can't say the word indeed without thinking of the site. It's terrible.
Yeah.
It's a certain kind of brain poison. It's like I still say gotcha as part of like my everyday
vocabulary, just like I have for the last 10 years.
But gotcha.
Oh yeah, I gotcha. But every single time I say it, my brain is like, that sounds just like you're saying gotcha.
Yeah, it's the closest real life thing we have to cognito hazards.
Yeah, that's true.
Very funny card name.
That is. Just need you to know that this card is called Beefcake Mayor.
That feels like something Magic would print.
It does.
That's fair. It might come up in an unset for all I know.
All right.
I really
You
want
never know, you know?
So you know how there's a few cards in Magic that divide the that force you to divide up your the map into various zones?
Yeah.
Yeah. Also from unsets, like the cheats
Not
thing.
all of them are unsets, but Jace
Mostly,
Space
yeah.
Sculpt,
I
the
mean,
Space
there's a-
Sculptor is one of them, yeah.
Yeah, there's some will say divide cards into piles, but I think zones is unset specific terminology.
Zones, piles, whatever. Because I know that the the other way they do it is like left and right, and you can only attack in one direction.
Yeah, stuff like that. I like
That's what the
Wings of
legendary wall does. I'm blanking on its name.
Yeah,
Parhelion? No, not Parhelion. That's the airship.
Yeah, I want to say Praemonix, but that's not quite right. That's close, though.
Something like that. Anyway, I really want to build a deck specifically just around of dividing combat into zones, and just see how many ways you can force people to divide things up. Because I feel like it'd be really annoying for everyone who's not me. And that sounds like it'd be really fun. Pramicon?
Pramicon is the wall.
I think I have that card from because I think it was from a command, one year's commander set.
Yeah, I think so.
Because left and right is a multiplayer mechanic, because otherwise you wouldn't have that many players.
Yep.
So it would pretty much have to be from at least Commander Supplemental, even if it wasn't a standard Commander Precon.
Could have been something like Battlebond too.
No, because you're on a team with one player. It's 2 at a giant. It's 2 on 2.
Oh, right.
You wouldn't be able to have left and right in Battlebond even.
Huh.
Because,
Well, anyway. Yeah, I just think it'd be a really fun and really annoying deck. And I've always been wanting to build one.
I respect that.
Yeah.
The only downside is I'd have to get uncards, and I don't like playing with cards that aren't like Magic specifically. Like uncards are just far enough out there that it always kind of bothers me to use them. But at least they're not Universes Beyond.
That's understandable.
Yep, fair.
I like sub-specific uncards generally, though I don't usually really use most of them.
No, I like a lot of uncards. I just don't like playing with them.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that there's a lot of specific ones that are fun, even outside of unstuff.
That's fair.
Like a certain friend of ours used the Monster Masher.
Right.
And it's like, sure, that's an unset card, but that feels like it could be just a Rakdos character.
It does.
Or something like that. Or a Phyrexian. I could have seen that being like, a Phyrexian character.
Run away!
Yeah, no, that
Very kind of Yawgmoth.
aesthetically that fits pretty well, yeah. My Yawgmoth era.
I'm really Yawgmoth maxing. Yawgmoth maxing glistening oil pilled.
What a terrible sentence.
Yep.
English is painful.
It is.
I've seen like some mockery of that going around with the the one that's like, oh, I'm gonna go visit my friends, and like the guy just keeps responding with meme phrases. You might have seen that format.
I've seen so many of that for.
It's like, oh, I'm gonna go visit a friend maxing visit build.
Yeah.
Which is very funny while also being a scathing indictment of a certain type of guy.
Yeah, I'm in a Discord server that
Oh, there's your first mistake.
It is.
About you, brother.
That got really popular one night, and like 100 different posts of that exact sort of meme just got posted constantly for like 4
They've come to pay their
hours.
respects to Majd-Uddin.
It was a good time.
They'll attend his funeral.
So after this
which means so will
conversation,
I.
we could probably call
What
it
is
here.
this that Templars
More.
would attend his funeral?
Pretty good. We're
I
kind of
get to
definitely
divine
hitting
their
everything.
true
Honestly,
intentions,
we will
though I'll have a
probably
confession in time.
finish.
The
We're gonna
citizens
have to
themselves are
decide what we
divided.
want to do with
Many
the
call
spare
for their
stream
lives.
time after we
Still
finish
others
the game
insist
next
that
week,
they
probably.
Well, it depends on how.
We'll see how long.
Yeah, it depends because
I told
I think
the
we
others I've
have
slain
one
have
more
said as much to me.
That
We
will
have
make
like
them our
one more
allies.
like thing, then we have
And
the
yet we killed
end.
them.
Yeah, one major
Make no
contract
mistake,
and then the
we are
final
nothing like these
mission
men.
stuff.
Yeah,
Though their
and
goal
then the
sounds
final
noble,
mission
the means
stuff.
by which they'd achieve it are not. At least,
So depending on how
that's what
long it all
Al-Mualim told
takes.
me.
So what is your plan?
I'll attend the funeral and confront Robert.
The sooner the better.
There.
Fortune favor your blade, brother.
Malik, before I go, there's something I should say.
Be out with it.
I've been a fool.
Normally I'd make no argument, but what is this? What are you talking about?
All this time, I never told you I was sorry. Too damn proud. You lost your arm because of me. Lost Qadar. You had every right to be angry.
I do not accept your apology.
Character growth.
I understand.
No, you don't. I do not accept your apology because you are not the same man who went with me into Solomon's temple. And so you have nothing to apologize for.
Malik.
Perhaps if I had not been so envious of you, I would not have been so careless myself. I'm just as much to blame.
Don't say such things.
We are one. As we share the glory of our victories, so too should we share the pain of our defeat. In this way, we grow closer. We grow stronger.
Thank you, brother.
Rest if you need to, Altair, that you might be ready for what lies ahead.
Thank you.
Legitimately one of my favorite cutscenes in the early Assassin's Creed games.
it's good.
It is good.
Probably one of my
our
favorite
boy.
characters, to be honest.
He gets to grow.
Okay.
Like I was saying there, he was almost a person.
Okay, so checkpoint reach. That's good enough.
As a certain person might have said once upon a time.
Okay, well, gonna climb up here.
Enjoy the sunlight.
Yeah, but that was a good time.
Yeah. Good times, good games, and soon we'll reach the end of this game, and we will have before us the gaping chasm of the many games that yet lay unplayed.
I'm so excited. We've almost unlocked cutscenes.
We'll have Ezio, we'll have other future Assassin's protagonists, we'll have some Nazi hunting, we'll have a bunch of other wacky stuff. Very soon we'll have Vampire Survivors.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
We're gonna play as whoever the characters from Contra are.
Yeah, I don't know any of the names. I don't know. I played a little bit of like the
All I know is,
original
like,
Contra, and that's about
you
it.
shoot stuff. I don't know if the characters. I mean, I assume they have names. I don't know if they had names in the original game.
They probably.
They might have only been added in like
They
the,
didn't have the
guidebooks
names
and
in
stuff.
the game.
Yeah,
they had
it-
them in the game manual that
Yes.
came with the game.
I mean, I don't know about that because was Contra originally an arcade game?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I mean, I'm
it's
sure when it came to console later,
Well,
they-
no, even for arcade games, they
I
usually
guess
gave a
that's
lot of
true,
the
yeah.
names.
Yeah, most arcade games at least, that
Yeah.
have a storyline come with a guidebook that they hand over to the normally bowling alley or arcade that it's at. And then the manager hoards that and never tells anyone about it.
Yeah. Most of the time, it's because they forget.
Yeah, 100%. Some of them have ridiculously detailed backstories and storylines, like Carnival.
Oh my gosh! Yeah.
Carnival!
We should totally do Carnival at some point.
That is a possibility, but you got to remember one important thing.
I'm gonna laugh.
We can't just copy the Ross man. We got to do something different with it.
Okay, but the Ross man and I had equally ridiculous relationships with Carnival, okay?
Look, I'm just saying we have to do something different with it if we do it. That's all.
Both me and him thought it was a fever dream at separate points in our lives. I thought it was a fever dream until he released the video and reminded me it was real.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, that's fair.
It was available at the bowling alley in my small town when I was a kid, and that place closed down at least 15 years ago.
Sounds fake, but okay.
Okay, but yeah, so thank you all for joining, and we will come back next Thursday.
Indeed.
And, in fact, we will rock you.
Yeah, all right.
See y'all next time.
Farewell.